Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel. As always, I am joined by my Iron.
And we're joined from my basement hideout, talking to Nick in his basement hideout. The greatest thing about being old is getting your own basement hideout, don't you think?
I agree, brother. Look, man. The other day I gave a tour on our Whatnot show. I actually had the phone and I walked through because somebody was asking me for some books, so I walked through. And they're like, "Oh, cool movie posters." Like, "Oh, cool." Yeah, it's like, "Oh yeah, I guess you guys can see all that." But yeah, so it's best investment I ever made, probably.
Yes, mine is just some wrestling 8x10s and some failed experiments. So sometimes it's not so charming as yours is.
Well,
Also,
time will tell. And I always joke, Myron, hey, maybe one day I'll do that tour on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah, head on over to youtube.com and just search for Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. You'll find us there, man. You get the show early. We've got some big changes coming up. We'll address that at the end of the show. I don't want to spoil that at the beginning. So we will tell you at the very end of the show some of the changes we're having to do again and explain us the why. But if you get early often and get all the extras over on our YouTube channel, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, do the search. By the way, if you're used to this new handle thing they have, if you can find us at Tapped Out Pod, go figure. That's how you would find us there. But that's our handle. I don't even know what that means on YouTube.
You were explaining something to me the other day. What's your handle for Whatnot?
Tapped Out Pod.
What's your Twitter handle?
Tapped Out Pod.
What's your Facebook page?
Well, I mean, you could do Tapped Out Pod and it'll find it.
Everywhere. I haven't Googled Tapped Out Pod in a while since we first started being bigger. I mean, I'm not going to toot our own horns, but we used to be small, and I would Google Tapped Out Pod to see if we would come up. I bet we. I wouldn't even get
it's
past.
Our Instagram, it's our Twitter, it's our TikTok, it's our Whatnot, it's our everything. Our
one
Twitter,
day,
YouTube.
One day, I just
everything.
want to put the letter T into Google and find our podcast.
That's the hopes, man. You did it on Whatnot. Remember, you tapped out, and you got TAPP, boom, and there it went. It popped out for you. Yeah.
Yep.
So, anywho, without further ado, listen, guys. Oh, by the way, you can also reach us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com with all of your questions, which is what we're going to go right back into again this week, is more questions from you guys. Because, man, God, does that make the show easier. I appreciate it so much.
The bag is always overflowing. The people that contribute to the show cannot thank you enough for such good material.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate that. Like, look, we get it, guys. We get multiple, essentially the same question, multiple variations of it. So what we try to do is we try to use somebody new. If we get a similar question from somebody, what I mean by that is if Ryan from Omaha, Nebraska asks a question 3 weeks in a row, but the third week Timmy from Odessa, Texas asked the question, we like to give old Timmy a shout out too versus using Ryan as well. So
yeah, exactly. That's how that Charlie from Starkville guy got so big over at the Jim Cornette's drive-thru. He just kept sending great questions in. But our friend Shelton from Jefferson, Oregon wants to know, do you guys think it's fair as Logan Paul is being spotlighted so much better than others who deserve it more? Well, I'm sorry, Shelton. This is about questions about professional wrestling. And in professional wrestling, who deserves it doesn't matter. Who sells it matters more.
Well, Myron, who even says they deserve it more? That's my question.
Yeah, well, it's not like there's a point scoring. Even AEW has gone away from that score system and their win-loss record stuff. That doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, I think I'm coming at from my answer is probably a different take too, Myron. I think my take is coming from an angle of people are like, oh, he deserves it. Why? And I'm coming back with why? Because he hasn't been in the business as long as another guy. I mean, did you see the shot, JB? It was so. By the way, obviously it was a work, right? It was part of an angle that JBL said. If you've been in the minors for 10 years, like if you've been on the Indies for 10 years, like maybe you're just not that good. Now, I'm not agreeing with that, by the way. I'm just saying, he's like, you've been stuck in the minors for that long. Whose fault is that kind of thing, right? Don't be mad at Baron Corbin because he's shot straight to the, to the thing.
Yeah.
My take, though, however, is not that. My take is that also doesn't mean that a guy who doesn't spend all that time in the indies, well, he doesn't deserve it. I mean, my thing is like, why? Like somebody said, oh, well, he hadn't paid his dues or he's not I'm like, I mean, look, dude, he trained well enough that he over-delivered at WrestleMania. He over-delivered at SummerSlam.
Yes.
There were pictures I think WWE put out. He's down at the PC working with Shawn Michaels, getting ready for Crown Jewel. It's not like the guy's not putting in the effort and the time.
And also, you got to remember, he put in the effort and the time making his name before he did this. So he's the equivalent of a superstar coming in from a different place besides wrestling. He comes in, he's bookable automatically because he's a superstar. And you know, how many millions of followers do he have?
It's like 24 million. Yeah.
Okay. How many followers do the guys on the indies that come up through that deserve it have? It's algorithms, folks.
Well, I'm not even saying like Myron from that perspective. Like you said, like the indie guys, these people are saying like, oh, well, Logan Paul shouldn't be wrestling. You know, it should be insert guy that's on the roster already, the WWE roster, that, you know, that they deserve it more. And my thing is, I think it's not wrestlers, it's fans too. Like it's a huge obstacle that gets in people's way about who deserves what better. It's like, well, he deserves it. He's a better wrestler than this guy. And, you know, I'm like, look, it's funny, Myron. I will tell you this. I was talking to a wrestler who will remain nameless, but when he listens to this, he will know, you know, he'll know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And how I said, being a good wrestler now doesn't go as far as it used to. Because what I mean by that, and actually maybe just as far, to be honest with you, because here's the problem today, right now. Good wrestlers are everywhere.
Exactly.
There's so many places to train and learn, and people are, you know,
Nutrition.
diets are better, exactly, nutrition's better. There's athletes that now, think about this, there are even more athletes who are making that move into that world that are just naturally gifted.
Just think about, did you play any Little League sports?
No.
Okay. I played Little League baseball, played high school and junior high football. There were a couple of guys that were good, really good. Now the kids have access to nutrition and workout programs, and their parents give them good food instead of the hog slop we were fed. And they care about the nutrition, and they take the best medications, and people get better as a whole. Okay? There's no shortage of people who are super athletes. There's shortage of people like Dusty Rhodes who have charisma. And what does Logan Paul have? Charisma.
Yeah, exactly.
And charisma makes you stand out. You had the same conversation about Carly Bravo. Carly Bravo stands out in Georgia wrestling because of his charisma.
Yeah.
And Logan Paul has charisma.
Even amongst a bunch of guys who can wrestle.
Yes.
He stands out for the personality. And I think that's something that people, you know, look, I get it. People love him. People hate him. By the way, hey, that's what you want in your talent. Love him or hate him, Logan Paul draws
emotions.
Yep, exactly.
Feelings.
Yeah.
People buy based on emotion.
Now, I'm not saying, by the way, work rate doesn't matter. But I'm saying at the same time, does it?
Well, when you've got a world full of Lance Storms, okay, maybe you need Chris Jericho's.
Well, Chris Jericho could work too, but my take is, you know, I'm not, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to be able to get in there and you've got to be serviceable in the ring. I'm not saying like, oh, you could be terrible. I'm saying you be serviceable, but like occasionally, I mean, like, listen, I'll give you the best example that I can give you in another example within the WWE itself. Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn he is a super talented wrestler. He could go out there and work with the best of them. But his bet, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, The best shit he's ever done in WWE is right now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's primarily character driven, and it will
Yep.
spill back all the way to his Jackass match, at WrestleMania. But I'm saying, but it's
Exactly.
all been character based, and that's his best shit.
And that's why they gave him the Jackass match. That's why they trusted him with the
Yeah.
Jackass match.
So
That's how this kind of stuff works.
So
They're never
point
going to,
being-
okay, they're never going to recruit us to wrestle. We have oodles of charisma, but we couldn't get into the ring. Okay? When we're superstars, I can't even get I've been in a wrestling one time. Okay? I get into the ring, I smash my testicles on the second rope, and then I had to roll out from under it, the bottom rope, to get out. They're not going to ever book me. They might book me on a pre-show to talk, but they never put me in the ring. They know this kid is an athlete and can go in there and perform and is a draw. So why not book him?
Yep. I think, 100%. I think that it's, look, he deserves it as much as anybody, if not more. And that's the best answer I can give you, Shelton. I'm sorry. That's just the best answer I got for you. So,
exactly.
Actually.
And on to Nelson from Fairfax, Virginia. With the rumors of a possible CM Punk buyout from AEW, do you think there's any possibility of him returning to WWE under Triple H? Oh, God.
Listen, we had this conversation, and we were actually having some of it similarly at a show that we were at last night. Initially, my answer would have been like, hell no, never going to happen. This is not possible. But the more over time I've thought about it, I'm sitting there kind of in my head going, if Triple H, there's two routes, by the way. There's two routes this could go.
Yes.
One, Triple H could be like, I'm going to make this sumbitch eat a shit sandwich and come back, and I'm going to, and do it. And so they could bring him back for that. I hope to think they're bigger people than that, and they wouldn't do that. Because there's also the avenue, Myron, of they could bring him back, in a very structured way, and just shovel the shit all over AEW. Because think about it, a pipe bomb from him on AEW, from being there for the last year, and how bad. I mean, look, whether it's true or not, 2 million people on Smackdown could watch him shovel the shit all over AEW. Now, I don't think they would ever mention it, because that's why Billy Gunn wasn't even theirs, because they didn't want to say their name on their TV show.
Coke doesn't talk about Pepsi.
Correct.
Okay? I said the other day on Facebook, CM Punk is the McRib of professional wrestling. The McRib only stays around for a limited amount of time, because if you pay too much attention, you're going to realize the McRib sucks. It is a miserable, miserable sandwich, and will taint all the other sandwiches in the McDonald's kitchen with its bad barbecue sauce and its poor attitude. So the McRib comes out, he gets a limited run. By the time he's going to ruin it and people get tired of it, he's gone. So you don't.
Well, that's what you hope, because that's not what happened.
People forget that it sucks, and they want it when it comes back. And CM Punk is just like that. The only reason CM Punk was popular was because CM Punk was gone. Bringing him back would be a tremendous mistake.
I don't know, man. I think there's the potential that it could be, again, a super short run. No long-term deal, like 6 months or something. Something where it's a short program, in and out. And I read a great point. If Rock can't make Mania, how cool would it be if he came back and he challenged Roman at Mania? Now, Roman beats him, don't get me wrong.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But how much buzz would that create?
Oh, yeah, that's an amazing amount of buzz. Not Rock level buzz, but an amazing amount of buzz. But Roman would kill him.
Listen, Byron, it work, look, it's all storyline driven, blah, blah, blah. They would get there, but my take on it is just simply of just create a buzz, because there's probably 1 million people or so that watch SmackDown that doesn't even know he came back and watched that he wrestled again.
No.
So
here's the thing we forget. Most people aren't tuned into the wrestling internet. most people aren't in the wrestling bubble and pay attention to everything that happens. They just tune in on SmackDown because they like wrestling.
Yeah.
They don't spend their time on Facebook following professional wrestlers.
No,
I agree. Or not.
No. But you know what, Myron? So I guess the ultimate would be, I don't think he comes back, but I won't ever say never. We've learned that a long time ago.
No,
never say never.
Oh God, no.
But no. I would want it to a T, like it's completely planned out. It's a short-term run, a very controlled environment. That's correct. But I still wouldn't do it if it was.
And get AJ back, AJ Lee back. If you're going to get CM Punk, bring the package deal.
I don't think she wants to come back though. I don't know. Who knows? But who knows what you want? But you know what, Myron? I know what you want, and I know what I want for Christmas.
Oh my, yes.
So yeah, it's Slowpoke Toys. So check them out over on slowpoketoys.com and more. Hey guys, Nick here at the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, and I'm here to remind you about our friends over at slowpoketoys.com. We told you about them a while back when they made their huge debut up there in Nashville at StarCast, and we told you then it was just the beginning. Boy, we weren't kidding. Since then, they've gone on to add some new items, and you missed them. Did you miss them? Well, why? All you got to do is make sure you're giving them a follow over on all their social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter or more, at Slowpoke Toys. Or, man, just go straight to the source. Go right to the website, slowpoketoys.com, and don't miss out on all the cool indie wrestling collectibles, pins, stickers, magnets, and more. They've even got some more cool stuff coming for Christmas. That's why you want to make sure you're giving them a follow on all their social media platforms. Again, at Slowpoke Toys on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. How involved are they? Man, they've already been working with promotions like AIW Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Revolver, ACW Wisconsin, Black Pro Wrestling, and more. That's right, man. They're making a big dive into the indie wrestling market. And if you're an indie wrestling fan, or you got that special somebody who's an indie wrestling fan, make sure you're giving them a follow at Slowpoke Toys on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And again, check them out right on that website at slowpoketoys.com. That's right, man. Check out our friends over at slowpoketoys.com and all their social media at Slowpoke Toys. Pick up those cool stickers, magnets, pins, and all that good stuff, man, especially with the Christmas season coming right up for your favorite indie wrestling fan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, our fan Bryce from West Reading, sorry, that's a tough name to say, Pennsylvania, wants to know, do you think Chris Jericho made a mistake by signing and staying in AEW? One word answer, Nick.
Nope. I don't think he made a mistake. I don't. And listen, I'm a huge WWE mark, right? I'm a huge, and I've told you that Jericho for years has been working his way onto the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. So I'm a huge fan of his. I'm a huge fan of the WWE product. So why wouldn't I want him to go back? I'm not saying I wouldn't want him to go back. I just don't think he made a mistake in staying where he's at.
Right now, he is defining his own legacy. Right now, he's in control. He's mentoring, which is a legacy thing. And he's doing what he wants to. Chris Jericho is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's clearly established, like you said, as a leader role now with Moxley and Bryan Danielson taking over the leadership of that locker room. And there's a lot to be said for that. Because look, he probably feels valued and he probably feels important. And for some people, that's a big thing.
Because when you're at work, you're at a job. No, I'm going to talk about wrestling. But when you have a job where you feel valued and important, it's bigger than financial satisfaction sometimes. Sometimes being valued and people reinforcing you is wonderful, and you can't quantify that. And Jericho's in a great place for Jericho. Do I watch the product every Wednesday night? Not every Wednesday night, but I would watch it more if I saw more Chris Jericho, because I'm a huge Jericho mark.
Well, and Myron, because he's your Ring of Honor champion. And look, let's be honest, when he was in the WWE last time, and this is, by the way, I'm not saying he deserved it. he was not main event guy anymore. He was in a U.S. championship feud with Kevin Owens. Very entertaining. It was a very good angle.
It was great. The list and all that. I loved the list.
But it wasn't the top. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't at the top. Yeah. And over in AEW, he's at the top. He's a main event guy.
First champion.
Well, look, there's the creativity part you just brought up about the list. Rumor was that part of the reason why he left was Vince wanted him to stay and continue doing the list, and he thought the list had played itself out, and he was ready to move on and do something else. So at least with AEW, he knew he was going to get that creative freedom. So, I mean, like I said, it's with all those. I mean, by the way, at the end of the day, we asked each other, what does he have even left to prove? He's been a multiple-time world champion, intercontinental champion. I mean, there was nothing left for him to do there. Right?
And if he'd done it before, it's not as great as doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I like the guy. I valued Chris Jericho as a contributor to the wrestling business. I like seeing him be able to do what he wants to do. And a happy person is a person who does great work. So more power to him.
Yeah. But again, long story short, no, he did not make a mistake in staying. Would I have liked to have seen him come back? Sure. Is he making a mistake? Nope, not in the least.
Nope. Even with Triple H in charge.
Yep, even with Triple H there.
Okay, Charlie from Lafayette, Tennessee. Do you guys think the main roster guys coming down to NXT, do you like the main roster guys coming down, or do you think they should keep them separated? Okay, this is about all the main roster wrestlers that are coming down and working in NXT right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy Rose. You just saw Apollo Crews in that picture. Mandy Rose has redefined herself.
Correct.
In NXT and done a great job. Was Apollo Crews on the show every week?
Yeah, he was. No. He had a running feud with Grayson Waller, and they had a blow off at Halloween Havoc.
No, but was he on
the main roster stuff? No.
So if you're working and still drawing your main roster check, and you're able to go down there and get exposure, because it's still a television show. Enjoy it.
Well, I tell you, man, in the notes I said, it's a great placeholder for somebody who you don't have anything for. Don't just, send them down there, give them something to work with down there. And it's, look, it helps the young kids because they get to work with somebody who's, and you don't. More experience is maybe the word. Sometimes, they always say the best way to learn in the ring is work with somebody who's better than you. Maybe more experience might be the right word because some guys down in there are pretty damn good, I would say.
Yeah.
But more experience. So there's that aspect of it. It'll draw more eyes to the product, for one, if you send them down. Dolph going down. And look, I get it. Everybody's like, well, it didn't really work. There's still people probably checking in, especially if they know it's more consistent. It's not like, oh, it's a one or two time and then you don't have to watch again or whatever. So there's lots of between the eyes, the working with guys, and so forth. So but like I said, ultimately, I think, like I said, Apollo Crews wasn't on TV. What the hell were they doing with him? Nothing. And if Grayson Waller needs an opponent, say, hey,
and
why don't we send
Grayson
him down?
Waller look more legitimate.
Yeah.
You build a guy. Gigi Dolan, what was the other girl's name in that tag team?
I always forget. Don't ask. I'm terrible with names today. My brain's
yeah. But the thing is, they're both bigger and more over than they were prior to Mandy Rose coming down there. This is how you build talent. This is the super developmental now.
Yeah. So speaking of developmental, while you're trying to develop yourself and make yourself healthier, check out our friends over Athletic Greens.
You're going to need a smaller cabinet because now you can take all those supplements you're taking or not taking and replace them with this. AG1 by Athletic Greens brings 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens together in one place. It might just be the most comprehensive and convenient nutritional regimen on the planet. Immunity supporting, recovery enhancing, digestion improving, energy lifting. Made to the strictest quality standards. Made New Zealand. Made for just about everybody.
That's right, man. Get all your stuff right there in one little, every morning, just pour it right into your water, shake it up a little bit, and boom, you are set to go.
When are you going to be on the commercials? I mean, because seriously, the transformation in Nick McDaniel since he's been on the Athletic Greens is amazing.
But, dude, we're trying, man. We're trying. I'm probably going to lose some weight this week, but that's a whole other conversation. But let's keep it rolling, brother, with that little inside joke there.
Well, there'll be a camera rolling, but it won't be on the podcast.
Correct.
Cody from Parker, Texas. Let's see if Mike can read this one correctly. With CM Punk's return now being an epic collapse, what do you guys consider some of the returns that ended better than expected? Okay. Fair question.
Yeah. And look, this is all totally subjective at this point, like when it comes to these. Because I came up with these, and look, you saw the picture, and I know a lot of people saw Goldberg, and they're like, wait, what the hell are you talking about? Listen, when Goldberg got put in that game, and he made that return, and he came back, I think the bar was so low because of how he exited the last time he left. I don't know how anybody can argue that, like, hey, the surprise match with Brock where he beat Brock like super fast, and then the matches he's had since then with, I'm just telling people, man, I personally believe this run far exceeded the expectations that anybody had. And I think that's what I took away from the question. Not necessarily great, but it went better than you thought it was going to end.
I would wager to say these runs have drawn more money than Goldberg's initial run. Because he's on this huge stage now. He's a merchandising machine. He's working with the McMahons. He's on the network. He's all over the world. It's a big deal, folks. Goldberg is somebody now that they can plug in anytime they need him. You need a draw for an off-cycle pay-per-view? Bring Goldberg in. People will watch it. You need something special? Bring Goldberg in. People will watch it. Maybe you want to see him fail? I don't know. But the thing is, he's still a marketable property.
I still think his matches overall went better than people are trying to give him credit for. That's for one.
No, there's always going to be a hate on Goldberg. There's always going to be a hate on Goldberg because Goldberg is not.
You can't even say his
technical
name.
Wrestler. Sorry, I'm trying to say Gilbert. I'm talking about Dwayne Gill because now Dwayne Gill was a massive draw in his day. You remember when that stuff was going on? Seriously, do you remember when the real Gilbert was coming out and doing all this stuff?
I remember, but yeah,
God, I love
I don't know that he
that right there. Probably is my favorite time of wrestling fandom. 96, 97, 98.
Yeah, most people would say that. So, now the next person on my list should not be a shock to anybody. Shawn Michaels' return from, his back, got hurt. He was retired. He was gone. He comes back. He's going to wrestle one match. It's only going to be one match only versus Triple H. And then he had a massive run where he wrestled mega great matches, lots of talent. And I think there's only one, and there's only one person I put above it, which is we'll get to in a second. But I think nobody could have saw that coming. We were told he didn't even have one match in him. And he thought he could go back and have one. And then he went on and had. Here's the thing. In my opinion, Shawn Michaels had 2 Hall of Fame runs. Pre-injury and post-injury.
Yes. And the thing was, I never thought he was going to come back. And they convinced me he was never going to come back. So when he came back, it was that much bigger of a deal.
Yeah. He was gone for 4 years. He had that match with Triple H. He looked like he didn't miss a beat. And then he had a freaking 8-year run after that was just stellar. Like I said, it was a Hall of Fame career after we thought he was done the first time. So who on God's creation could you come up with that could top that? And look, I get it. It's for probably some sentimental reasons that I say this. But Sting. And I'm not talking about his WWE run. How wild is this? I'm talking about his current freaking AEW run. He's like 62, 63, Jesus years old or whatever he is. He's still out there. He's doing diving off stuff and going through tables and, think about what and look, I get it. Everybody's going to probably disagree with this. What he did for Darby Allin and pulling Darby Allin up.
Yes.
I think he is doing what a lot of talent say they want to do by helping make some other stars.
This run should be called The Rub. Okay? Everybody he works with now gets more established. Everybody he's around gets more over because it's Sting. Sting is the icon Sting. Okay? Totally believable. Sting kept himself in great shape. Do you think anybody kept themselves in great shape long term the way he did?
Billy Gunn. That's about it. But Billy's only in his 50s. Billy's only in his 50s, I think. So.
But Billy's working all the time now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's also got another, like, it used to be Mr. Ass. Now it's Scissor Me Daddy. What?
Daddy
Ass.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
I mean,
let's go back to Sting. Let's not get sidetracked. But yes, I agree with you. Sting is taking phenomenal care of himself.
Yes.
And so that would be my three. Goldberg, HBK, and Sting, all post. We thought they were done. They were gone. They were retired. And they all came back. And I think they look, at minimum, you could argue, they have exceeded all of expectations on their returns. That's just my opinion.
That's a very valid opinion.
Speaking of opinions, let's dive in. We're going to share some opinions on something that went down. Like we're recording this on Sunday evening, so this will be as of last night we saw this, and it was Anarchy Wrestling up there in Cornelia, Georgia, Myron. There's lots of shit to cover on this show.
I had a great time. I have had a horrible week, and we're going to go into that. You'll find out a lot about that later. And I was in a bad mood, and I get up there to Cornelia, and the vibe is positive, and the fans are there, and I see my friend Ted, and I see this friend, and I see that friend, and I shake some hands. I talk to Rodney, Tristan, and I get around that's before the show, and then they gave me the show that was great, and after the show, I talked to some of the guys in the back, and they're all. Here's the thing. I'm going to put some people over I've never put over before. I'm going to put over the Exotic Youth right now. And I also listened to them on Murder One's podcast earlier today. Those kids have a great mind for the wrestling business.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, listen to what they have to say. But tell me
if you don't think they do,
you like
ask them. They'll tell you they do. That's what I always like to say.
I love good heels.
Yeah. And we're going to get into them a little bit more. I promise you, because there's more to talk about for them. But I wanted to start off with, so the surprise of the night was like third match, something like that. Pardon me, I don't take notes. I just remember shit as best I can.
And I don't remember
Nick Kalen
so
wrestled Hunter James. I had strongly suggested that Hunter James get his ass whooped. He did take an L, by the way. However, Jesus, this is going to be painful to say. Even though he lost, the kid performed extremely well and actually had made a run that I actually thought he was going to possibly upset Nick Kalen and take the Landmark Heritage Championship.
Here's the thing about Nick Kalen. We just talked about great comebacks. In Georgia wrestling, has anyone had a greater comeback than Nick Kalen has had? Okay, Nick Kalen didn't work. He comes back and he reestablishes himself right up there on the top of the workers in Georgia.
Yeah,
with his great matches.
Yeah, those two tore the house down. It was it was really, really solid. I got a feeling you might want to follow the channel if you're fans of those two in that match, because I got a feeling you're probably going to see it on our channel very, very soon. We'll leave it at that. Of course, there was a little bit of a tension at the end of the match between the program after the loss to Hunter James suffered. It's going to lead a little bit something that happened later in the night, of course, which Proc the Croc defended the 5-star MVP championship against Nauseacism. And Proc suffered a loss, which was a major occurrence in that building, by the way. He had not lost in forever as far as the pinfall goes. Singles.
That match was interesting. That match was very interesting because of the giant contrast in styles. Nigism is so mobile, so athletic, and so all over the place, flies high. Proc is just a bulldog. He's like Scott Steiner.
Total athletic in another way. Like it's just brute strength, force, power. So both athletic, but just in a different way. Yeah. And like you said, it was a great match because of that, I think.
Yeah. It was so good to see that.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, the ending after that was terrifying.
Horrific. That was my words. Horrific. Proc and Hunter, I mean, I don't understand. How could they disrespect the leader of the program, the coach, the Habersham legend, the landmark legend himself, Scott Mason? They pile drove him off the apron through a table. Like, I was like, who does Hunter James think he is? Terry Funk? Like, does that make Scott Mason Ric Flair? Anyway.
Well, I mean, as far as a heel, he is. But who's the heel now? Who's the bad guy? The bad guy's imploded. So do you get a good guy coming out of this? Is Scott Mason going to come out and be the good guy?
Listen, he's a legend there. People were ready to love him from Scott Mason, and Proc and Hunter just gave him a reason.
And they hated on them.
But here's the problem. Scott's got to find somebody to team with to fight those guys, because there's two of them and there's one of him. But something tells me Scott plays dirty. He can be dirty as the rest of them, right? So they better watch their back. That's all I'm going to say. But those two young kids are really fucking good. That's where they need to watch out.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that I think he's got the most punchable face.
Reason we drive an hour to Landmark Arena on a regular basis. Anytime I can get off work, we drive an hour to go there. One of our top 3 shows we always go to.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm off work.
I mean, because there's so much stuff. Like, look, Jay Chew Strong was there. Look,
that was great.
But Jay's a guy that fits the mold of what I was talking about earlier. Dude can do shit in the ring with the best of them. But why is he good is because he's really good at character.
Hated.
Yeah.
Hated. I would guarantee you, if he were to like walk around Cornelia, Georgia during the day, go to the Ingalls, go to the Piggly Wiggly, he would be crucified.
You would hear 2 week as he walked through the Piggly
Yes, exactly.
Wiggly, right?
People would harass him with that chant in public, and that's terrific. His impact there is, I mean,
God, I agree.
So good.
But I do want to come back to what you said, because the Exotic Youth was not advertised there. Look, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole of why they weren't there.
Oh no, I'm not talking about any of that stuff, because this is not always a shoot podcast.
No, I just, from the sake of, look, I mean, there's lots of stuff out there. You could read it, you could find out about it, you could attempt to go find it and hear about it, all that good stuff. But they were in the building. They ended up.
Oh, and it popped when they came out. Got a mic and sat in the front row.
Because, like you said, Myron, and I want you to go to a point you said that you said before we recorded about them in a second. That it's something they understand, and I think it's what sets them apart from a lot of heels in Georgia, and that's what makes them so good.
The brand. They want to be heels wherever they go. And they never want to do anything that doesn't make sense or involve anybody else in some of their storylines. They want to be heels. They want to be the same people that can draw heat anywhere. We're not even talking about Georgia. Those kids draw heat wherever they go. They can, even if nobody knows who they are, they show up in a building, they piss everybody off.
Within 5 minutes, they're under the skin of people, and they've pissed them off to the point that, okay, these guys are the bad guys. And they don't mind.
And they wrestle.
They love it.
And they do that bit in the ring, too. And they encourage it, and they feed on it.
Yeah.
Real heels. Real heels are hard to find.
That is true.
Because people want to be loved. And they seem to take a lot of satisfaction.
People don't want to be loved. People, oh my God, I'm going to say something I was saying. We were talking about personally, not wrestling related. Everybody wants to be cool and edgy. Exotic youth just doesn't give a shit. They just don't, they want to be hated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what heels do, by the way. And I think the more people embrace that, and I think it does. I mean, this is kind of hard to do in this day and time, especially on the indies. But I admire the fact that it's kind of like no matter where we go, we're bad guys. We're heels.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, well, we want you to be baby. No. Like, we're heels. And it's funny. I actually think it goes the other way. Like, All-Star Special is like, no, we're baby faces. We're a baby face gimmick character. Mm-hmm. That's who we are. So we're not bad guys. People love us, and that's kind of why. That's because think about it, if All-Star are heels, like right now, it's like their whole shtick doesn't work, right? The whole shtick just doesn't work for them. So
yes. How about that Bray Wyatt?
At least they're consistent. It's tough when you see a guy that's a babyface and a heel and a babyface and a heel, and you're like, so when he strolls out, you're like, okay, is he a good guy or bad guy here? That's a hard one to handle.
Yeah,
but I understand.
Yes. I like to be able to tell who the babyface is and who the heel is when they walk through the curtain.
Yeah,
automatically, because that's how I grew up, Nick. That's how we grew up.
Yeah.
We grew up on wrestling that was basic and emotion based, and that's what these people do now. I gotta give them commendments for that, or commendations, or whatever word I'm looking for.
Whatever word they right. Yeah, absolutely. So
good things.
Anyway, yeah, but check them out, dude. Anarchy Wrestling, Cornelia, Georgia. They have a YouTube channel, by the way, just like us.
A lot of fun.
So while you're checking us out, go over to youtube.com, search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Go in there and like the page and subscribe and turn on the notifications, all that good stuff. And hell, even become a member if you want to. You can get the show early. You get a few exclusives that we throw there. Oh, by the way, like I said, type in Anarchy Wrestling. Check them out. The one's right up there at Landmark Arena. Yeah. Give them a follow as well, because when they put their shows out, you'll be able to catch them. But for all of our audio podcasts, you can check us out on any podcast platform. I dare say any. Whether it's Apple Podcast, iHeartMedia, Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, or pretty much anything in between, just give us a subscribe. That comes out, by the way, that is just the wrestling podcast. On the YouTube channel, we got all the other stuff that we do as well on there. But we get it. Like some guys like to do the audio podcast while they're working out or while they're driving to work or taking the kids to school and all that good stuff. I hope you're real careful if you're listening while you're taking the kids to school. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So now that was all easier said than done, right? As far as all that stuff goes. But now we have to explain why you need to subscribe, why you need to, turn your notifications on, things like that. Myron's work schedule has changed again.
Folks, I had the same work schedule for 12 years. It never varied at all. And then it changed. And then 2 months later, it changed again. And now it's changed again.
Yeah.
So our release date will have to change back to one of the older formats.
Yeah. And
I apologize. You won't get it earlier, but you still will get it. It's not like you're going to lose out on any content.
No.
You will always get our content on a regular weekly basis.
Listen, Myron, some people are going to be happy about it because we were, like I said, we're recording today on a Sunday. We were recording either Sunday or Monday, depending on your day off, and then that's why we moved it up to Tuesday, so it would be up to date as possible. Now his Myron's days off are going to be Tuesday and Thursday every single week. It will alternate. So we're going to record.
I can always watch Raw.
Correct. We're going to record on Tuesday, so that way Myron will be able to watch Raw. So now Raw will be back into kind of the. It won't be like a week behind, but the show was coming out on Tuesday, so now it will be back to being released on Wednesday. So we're going back to a Wednesday release after this week. So
if you don't like it, send me enough money that I can stay here and do this damn podcast 7 days a week.
Right. Join
I
Myron
will
at
talk to you people.
onlyfans.com. Tapped out Myron.
You dare me?
I'm daring you, Billy. Go ahead.
Because I ain't gotta do no nudie stuff.
Well, that's where the
I
real
can
money's
just-
at, man.
Not for me.
Well, I'm just saying. So anyways, so just
Yeah,
wanted to
there's
give
not
that
enough
program
people that
note.
like cherubs.
Yeah. We're going to move the show back to Wednesday. So the release date for the podcast and the YouTube show will be Wednesday. However, paid members will get the show on Tuesdays when we're done recording. So I've always done that. As soon as we finish, I upload it. And so you have it as soon as we get it done. That's always been our mission.
I love recording the show and then getting the notifications that it's on Patreon and it's on YouTube early because I'm a special member.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Even though I'm a part of it, I still like feeling like part of the club. And folks, you are part of the club here at Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast.
Yep. So, man, well, that's everything I got this week. Thanks for all the questions. And again, make sure you send those to tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That way I kind of sift through it as best I can. And by the way, it does help. I know some people have asked. It helps if in the subject you kind of at least put the basic gist of the question. Because like I said, we do get sometimes like 5 versions of the same question. So if you kind of got the basics in there and the subject, it kind of helps sift through them a little bit faster. But yeah, I try to, as much as I can, do that. And listen, I'm going to shamelessly plug the shit out of my Whatnot shows that I'm running a couple times a week.
How big is this now?
So on Whatnot, it is an app. My wife calls it, so basically you have a personal QVC channel. It's kind of what it's like. And I'm like, kind of. So I'm doing the comic books. By the way, I've added sports cards to the mix. Some of the sports cards I've got, just random stuff.
I tried to be his hand model, but folks, those little sausages couldn't move anything around.
So what we do is when I stream for long periods of time, we discuss pro wrestling. We discuss comic books. We discuss movies, TV shows. Dude, we've had 30 and 45-minute conversations about life insurance, whatever. I let the crowd, in the chat, I let the chat drive the conversation. I just follow along for the ride, man. So, join us over there, get the app, and go, by the way, Myron, make it difficult. Where do they find us on Whatnot? What's our handle on Whatnot?
Tapped Out Pod.
That is correct. Tapped Out Pod. If you search, you'll find us.
Branding.
So, all righty, man. All that being said, that's all I've got. You got anything else for me, man?
I got nothing, and I love you all.
So what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.